原定的是10点钟啊，北京时间晚上10点开始，但是他现在还没出来啊。我们再静静的等一等啊。我现在看了所有的这个直播间都是一样子的，没有，只有这个画面啊。那我们再看看有没有其他台可以一边等一边看的啊。晚上好，晚上好。我们现在搞得莫名其妙啊，因为它有2个消息，它一个是说什么贸易的，一个是说主权基金投资的，有可能是一块儿宣布啊。我再找一找看有没有其他台啊。我现在看到的所有的直播画面都是都是停在这儿的啊。不知道为什么没有其他台在一边讲一边等啊。我们看一下福克斯吧，也是这个画面。看福克斯好一点吧，把这个关掉。福克斯是拍的白宫的一个画面啊。福克斯的现在同时在线的人数比较多，他现在有3万多人在线看。这逼睡着了。有可能哈，有可能。我们看到比特币啊，昨天咱们这画面去哪儿？昨天咱们这个直播完包月之后，没想到比特币又一波上涨啊，这个是涨得莫名其妙。所以现在的我自己的操作策略呢，就是偏谨慎啊，看空不做空。以太坊这一波非常猛啊，直接就冲上去了。以太坊太猛了啊！我们再等一等啊，再等一等看看。对，福克斯屌一点，福克斯会全程吧。我不知道以前的时候我会找到一些，比如说这个一边等然后会有一边这个会一边等，然后会有主持人在这讲。我今天一个都没有找到，可能是大家都觉得这个事情比较关键、比较重要吧。现在咱们直播间人数有多少人啊？40多哦，50多人。我把这个咱们的这个直播呢推送一下啊，我都没有给大家分享的，先在推特上发一下，然后把这个链接发到群里面。我不用梯子的，我在美国，我用什么梯子？我以为你今天不直播了呢。我是在等啊，我本来是要等看看他到底有什么重大的宣布，然后我要在咱们这个区块链日报这个日更的频道上更新的，结果等半天没等到。真的是，按道理来讲，他现在应该开始了，他每一次都他妈迟到，操，every fucking time late。靠，比特币这一波涨得好猛啊！我靠。 你还要买川普，千万不要买川普啊！我不知道为什么你们要买川普，80%的筹码是他妈的这个是带锁的，你买它干啥？我们说一下这个川普币啊，川普币这个他搞一个晚宴，对吧？然后让很多想见他的人呢去买啊，锁定筹码，然后呢，他们这个时候解锁之后，再把这个筹码再卖给你，然后大家都觉得会涨，其实真的会涨吗？哎呀，这样等也挺无聊的。我找一个看看有没有主持人讲话的，然后看看就是然后到他上台的时候讲话的时候呢，再直接转过去的。现在看这种画面好无聊，但是好像今天所有的台都是只给这一个画面啊。Major amount。Major announcements， 整的跟啥似的，操！ OK， 这个有。
But even President Trump would talk about with his friend Shinzo Abe, the great prime minister who was assassinated from Japan. He was a great friend of the United States. He would golf with President Trump near Mar-a-Lago at the Trump International in Palm Beach. And he said, you know, Mr. President, it just, no one negotiated as well as you did. We were shocked that they would agree to these things, and that's why we took advantage. And he said, Shinzo, I get it, Shinzo. Just so sad that God rest his soul, because he was a great American leader, or a great world leader who put Japan first, but respected the United States, loved Western civilization. And that's what President Trump brings. He brings the comedy, he brings the truth, he brings the toughness, something you need in a great commander-in-chief. Thank you to mypillow.com/RSBN. We love Mike Lindell, who has the Giza Dream Bed Sheet sale going on right now. It's only $49.98, any color, any size. Promo code RSBN. That's mypillow.com/RSBN.
妈的，还卖枕头
Do
呢！
not delay. 800-836-7566. Support Mike Lindell and RSBN by shopping now. mypillow.com/RSBN. Save with that code right there for you. RSBN. It's a great code. It's an easy code to remember. And we know that Mike Lindell has the best deals. He said that last week in Warren, Michigan, President Trump mentioning Mike Lindell, who was in the audience. Who's the best marketer out there? I think it's Mike Lindell. And maybe post-presidency, we have a reboot of The Apprentice. Hey, NBC, here's an idea. I'd like some royalties from that, but I'm just giving you free advice.
这他妈是广告啊！操，看半天。看《华尔街日报》的吧，连音乐都没有，我操！今天是好诡异，我操！到底是什么鬼呢？是什么这个重大的声明呢？重大的宣告呢？这他妈的吊人胃口啊！哎，我刚才那个，大家等我一下，我有一个画面找不着了，在这儿呢。大家不要问在几点开始了，原定的已经开始了，对吧？原计划的已经开始了，但是他就是不开始，那怎么办呢？一点办法都没有。不守时啊，这哥们儿。牛市开始吗？我不觉得牛市开始了啊，我不觉得，这可能只是一个，这叫什么呀？哎呀，我看看推特上面大家都在讨论啥。 也没有什么，现在人都去哪儿了？现在推特上的博主，分享这种写的好的这种博主，今天都没有分享啊，不知道干嘛去了。那今天好诡异，我操！首先是这个比特币啊，以太坊涨得一是莫名其妙啊。再一个他妈的，川普说是10点钟重大宣布，他妈的到现在不出来。然后推特上这帮有价值的博主也不出来写东西了，不知道都干嘛去了。我们是不是进到另一个平行宇宙里面去了？靠，比特币能不能破10万？今天99900，我靠！以太坊到2000了没？以太坊马上就2000了。养老基金也要买了是吗？哎呀，已经到月球了，这才哪到哪儿？我去，这不是月球啊，这还在地球上呢，还在地底下呢，以太坊还在地下呢，还没到地表呢。我没有看到机构在疯狂的扫货，昨天的 ETF 基金表现的也不好。所以说今天的这个上涨呢是莫名其妙，没有逻辑的。那通常情况下，这种没有逻辑的上涨能不能持续下去，我们并不知道啊。我现在看不到任何的，我经常看的大佬都集体消失了。哎呀，真的是莫名其妙。我再找找看啊，看看还有没有其他频道。川普，所有的直播都是静止画面，这也是我见的不多啊，很少见到的。彭博社，我去。大家对这个川普的这个重大的这个声明啊，不要抱太大的期望啊，他有可能就是一个屁啊，经常会这么干，就是啥都不是。他说是重大的宣布，宣布个屁啊，啥也没有，对吧？福克斯不是静止，有个特勤在晃。哦，我看的咱们刚刚开始看的是福克斯的，有个特勤在晃。好，给大家看福克斯的吧。这是福克斯的啊，福克斯的，这不是这有个特勤吗？在这儿呢，它是给你的白宫的，这是白宫吧？白宫的这个画面吧。今天看空看多，我昨天就开始看空了，但是这个很打脸，对不对？很打脸。我看空，但是我没有做空啊，我没有做空比特币，我做空的爱达币，收益已经是缩水了很多了。我靠，已经到我的开仓的位置了，已经。靠，这一波反弹都挺猛的嘛，再涨我就被套了，我去。 爱达币再涨我就被套了。妈的，这7点30多了，还要不要出来了？我这儿7点30多了啊。兄弟们，我先去给我儿子做早饭去了啊。靠，再不出来我都想关了这个直播。今天这是莫名其妙，我靠。大家要记住一点啊，我从来不做空比特币的，以太坊我也很少做空。那么以太坊，我没有想到它今天是涨那么猛啊，以太坊确实是今天是有够猛的啊。然后我们看到 Link 今天涨得也挺猛，也涨了7%多，狗狗币也起来了啊，狗狗币也凶起来。但是狗狗币依然没有穿过前面的这个高点啊，3月26号的这个高点都没有穿破。以太坊相对强势一点啊，以太坊3月26号也没有穿过，其实他们都差不多啊，难兄难弟吧。那最强的呢还是比特币啊，我们看到比特币已经到了2月21号的一个高点了啊，但是我不知道大家看没看我刚刚做的这个日更的这个视频，我把这个链接发到咱们这个聊天室里面啊。那日更的这个我刚刚讲到了这个未平仓合约，那期货市场呢是到了川普这个上台的那一天的这个水平了啊，这是非常厉害的。说明这个合约还是挺牛逼的啊。那这个频道大家也帮我关注一下啊，我有2个频道啊，我有2个频道。这个川普老不出来啊，现在这样子啊，我这个直播呢，它也是中英文字幕啊，到时候呢，如果说它自动开始的话，咱们就看啊。那我先下楼去，给我儿子做饭，喊他起床了啊，马上上学去了。Jasmine 拿住啊，Jasmine 拿住，然后我看一下。那咱们这个直播先开着啊，先开着，因为这个版权的问题，我也不能给大家放音乐啊，或者是放着音乐它出来了，也不好啊，影响大家观感。那大家呢，先在这个聊天室先聊着啊。那我这个画面上也是给大家看着这个比特币的这个涨势，我该放到5分钟图吧，放到5分钟图，大家看着这个目前的这个涨势，然后我下楼去做饭去了啊。那等一下咱们再见啊。对，字幕啊，我现在字幕是开着的啊，我刚刚测试过了，字幕没有问题啊。好，那咱们等一下吧，我先去做个早饭去啊。
Today's agreement with the UK is the first in a series of agreements on trade that my administration has been negotiating over the past 4 weeks. With this deal, the UK joins the United States in affirming that reciprocity and fairness is an essential and vital principle of international trade. The deal includes billions of dollars of increased market access for American exports, especially in agriculture, dramatically increasing access for American beef, ethanol, and virtually all of the products produced by our great farmers. And our Secretary, as you know, of Agriculture is here. Brooke, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
You'll let the farmers know. In addition, the UK will reduce or eliminate numerous non-tariff barriers that unfairly discriminated against American products, but this is now turning out, I think, really to be a great deal for both countries, because it'll be really great for the UK also. So they're opening up the country. Their country is a little closed, and we appreciate that. They'll also be fast-tracking American goods through their customs process, so our exports go to a very, very quick form of approval, and there won't be any red tape. Things are going to move very quickly both ways. The final details are being written up in the coming weeks. We'll have it all very conclusive, but the actual deal is a very conclusive one. We think just about everything's been approved. So good for both countries, and we'll also receive new market access for American chemicals, machinery, and many other industrial products that weren't allowed, and they'll end up getting products that they'll be able to price, and if they like them better and we make great products, they'll be buying those products, but they were not available in the UK. Furthermore, in a historic step, the deal includes plans that will bring the United Kingdom into the economic security alignment with the United States. That's the first of its kind. So we have a big economic security blanket, and that's very important. And we feel very, very comfortable with that, because it's been a great ally, truly one of our great allies. I mean, a lot of people say our greatest ally. I don't want to insult people by saying that, but I can say it's certainly one of our greatest, and right at the top. And they're the first one we're talking about. And by the way, we have many meetings planned today and tomorrow, and every country wants to be making deals. And we have a meeting, as you know, Scott will be going over to Switzerland on Saturday. That'll be very, very interesting. Let's find out. But I think they want to make a deal very badly, too. Both countries have agreed that the economic security is national security, and will be working together as allies to ensure that we have a strong industrial base, appropriate export controls, and protections for key technologies and industries like steel. Steel is a big factor. Both countries will become stronger with steel and things necessary for military. You know, we used to build ships and other things literally at a level that nobody's ever seen, and we haven't, we've eased up, and I would say that the UK certainly eased up, but now we're going to be uneasing both, and we work together. Once again, I want to thank Prime Minister Starmer. He's been terrific for his partnership in this matter. The special relationship and external bond, it's really an external and an internal bond between our two countries, will soon be stronger than ever before. And we really do. We have a great relationship. I want to just say that the representatives of UK have been so professional. And it's been an honor doing business with all of them, and in particular the Prime Minister. And I'd like to introduce him now to say a few words. Mr. Prime Minister, please take it away.
Thank you, Mr. President, Donald. And this is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce this deal between our two great countries. And I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together. Can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well, particularly yes, Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job, and my team as well. Two negotiating teams have worked at pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today. Really important deal. This is going to boost trade between and across our countries. It's going to not only protect jobs but create jobs, opening market access. And as you say, Donald, the timing couldn't be more apt, because not only was it 80 years ago today that victory came for Europe after and at the end of the Second World War. But of course, on that day, the UK and the US stood together as the closest of allies. And Donald, I think, even down to the hour, because you may or may not know that it was about this time of day, exactly 80 years ago, that Winston Churchill announced victory in Europe, and that led to great celebrations across Europe, across America, but particularly in the United Kingdom. Literally people going out into the street, putting bunting up, going up to the palace. And so to be able to announce this great deal on the same day, 80 years forward, almost at the same hour, and as we were 80 years ago, with the UK and the US standing side by side, I think is incredibly important and makes this truly historic. That close relationship has endured over those 80 years. As you know, Donald, when it comes to defence and security and intelligence sharing, of course, there are no two countries that are closer than our two countries. And now we take this into new and important territory by adding trade and the economy to the closeness of our relationship. It is built, as you say, on those notions of fairness and reciprocal arrangements. We've always had a fair and balanced arrangement between our countries. This builds on that, hugely important for sectors like car manufacturing and for steel and aluminium and so many others. And yes, we can finish ironing out some of the details, but there's a fantastic platform here, including, of course, on the tech side, where I think I'm right in saying we're the only two Western countries with trillion-dollar sectors when it comes to tech. And in the end, it comes down to, as you say, Donald, economic security is national security. On national security, we've been absolutely the closest of allies for so many years, keeping the peace through that close alliance, that friendship. And we add to that this deal on trade and the economy. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that, Donald, and for the way in which your team have negotiated this. I'm so pleased that we've got this deal, we've finalised it, and we've built an incredible platform for the future. So thank you so much. Donald, I'm now going to go and do a press conference. I think you have your press in with you. But on the details, I think if you've got Howard, we can deal with that through one of my team.
That's great. Well, Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much. It's an honor. We're going to have a continued, maybe a better relationship than ever before. You know, I don't know if the media knows, but the US and UK have been working for years to try and make a deal. And it never quite got there.
Yeah.
It did with this Prime Minister. So I want to just congratulate you.
Well, with this President, this Prime Minister, we've managed to achieve what many people have tried to achieve for many years.
Right.
And I'm really pleased, and it feels completely historic and on a special 80-year anniversary as well. So, Donald, thank you so much. It's really good to have got this deal over the line. Tribute to both teams, tribute to our countries, and tribute to your leadership.
Thank you. Well, it really is a great thing. And you go do your press conference, and I'll see you soon. Maybe speak to you later. But thank you very much. An incredible thing. I can't tell you that for so many years, even as I sat, everybody talked and talked and talked about a deal with, it just seemed like a natural deal, but it was not done. But now it was done with us. So I feel very proud to have been a part of it. Keir, thank you very much.
Thanks, Donald, and we'll speak again soon.
Very good. So long. Bye. Why don't I do this? Why don't I have our Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, give a little description of the deal pretty quick, and then the good side, the very nice side, we'll be speaking about it also, maybe, from so you get a pretty equal. I think it's a very, it's just been a deal that was, we thought, very complicated. It became very simple. It's opening up the country that we really didn't have the kind of access to that I would have thought. I was surprised. I think it's why the deal never got done before. It was, you know, they've been working on this deal for 25 years. And we got it done, and we got it done. Really, it's going to be great for both countries. So, Sarah, if you could go, and then somebody else, you may have, you'll pick whoever you want who'd like to do it. I have a feeling you're going to do it, right? So you guys go ahead, and then we'll take questions right after that. But I think you'll get a pretty good understanding of how big it is. It's a very large deal, very big deal. And Howard, go ahead.
So the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world and the 4th largest that we export to, right? So it's a huge market, a top 10 market. If you remember Liberation Day, they were at 10% because we have balanced trade with the UK, right? They say they have a surplus, but of course that counts gold bullion, which is, so let's just call it balanced trade. So how do you open up a market in balanced trade? People think it's impossible. They've always thought it was impossible until President Trump came on the scene and changed the way things work. So here's what we've got. We've opened up new market access, ethanol, beef, machinery, all the agricultural products. They've agreed to open their markets, and that will add $5 billion of opportunity to American exporters. So the question is, why would they do that now? Because they've never done it before. And we still have our 10% tariff on, which will produce $6 billion of revenue for the United States. So the idea was, how do they keep their jobs, protect their economy, and do the best for their people while opening the market for us? And the way is they studied it, their team was exceptional, and they tried to figure out the markets that they're importing from other people and try to send them over to America. So why were they always favoring others and not us? And what they've done is they've found the ways to do that so that we have new access, right? But the UK workers are protected, and that was the balance. So we did a deal with them in automobiles, and you know, if you're not building here, we charge you a 25% tariff. But the president, and by the way, I want to make this clear, while Jameson and I worked hard, this was the president's deal. And people think, oh, that's not the way it works. If you got to sit next to him, I have the best deal maker to my left. And if you don't think that we take advantage of him calling the prime minister and getting that deal done, you don't understand who's the president of the United States. So he's the closer. He gets deals done that we could never get done because he understands business, he understands deals, and that's why we're here today. So he agreed they could send 100,000 cars into America and only pay a 10% tariff. And that protects their car industry. And remember, we do 16 million cars a year. So this is only like 0.6%. But for the UK auto people, this is tens of thousands of jobs that the president agreed that he would protect for them. So he made that deal, right? Then steel and aluminum, right? Their steel business has been destroyed like everybody else has been destroyed by people dumping steel into their markets. And British Steel had announced it was closing down. So the British government, as part of this deal, nationalized British Steel, and they're going to match the kinds of models we do. They'll put tariffs on, they'll put quotas on. They want to do it with America so they can be part of the resurgence of steel and aluminum in America. And that saves them, again, thousands and thousands of jobs. So if you go step by step, aero and commercial planes, they sell Rolls-Royce engines to Boeing. We've agreed to let Rolls-Royce engines and those kind of plane parts to come over tariff-free. And what you're going to hear today is there's going to be an announcement in the UK that they are buying $10 billion worth of Boeing planes later today, but I'm going to let the name of the airline announce it because that's theirs to do it. Part of this deal was always to do it together and to do it strong, and you can see the numbers on this board. Everything about this board works exceptionally well for the United States of America. It lays out the plan that you can work with us in autos, you can work with us with aero and commercial, you can work with us in pharmaceuticals if you have a supply chain that is secure and protected in national security. So we feel really good about the deal. You've heard the prime minister, he feels really good about the deal, right? And we started at 10% and we ended at 10%. And the market for America is better. And this is a perfect example of why Donald Trump produced Liberation Day. People don't understand. He gets things done in a matter of time. This would have taken Jameson and I 3 years, maybe. And instead, we got it done in 45 days, certainly, because we work for Donald Trump. So, Jameson, my partner in all this, maybe Jameson, you'd like to talk a little, and then we'll turn it over to the UK.
Sure, happy to do that. Everyone has great remarks. I just have to echo the President and the Prime Minister when we talk about VE Day. This is something we've been waiting for decades, and there is no more appropriate date to do this. And when we step back and we look back a few weeks from now, or months from now, or years from now, we're going to look back at this day and better appreciate the significance, I think. And I'll just say as well, in terms of negotiating, I mean, the UK negotiators, you know, we've got one right here, did an incredible job, right? This is why you win wars, right? When you act like this, and the ambassador, he knows more about trade than a lot of us here, based on his background. And I would say on this deal, Mr. President, what we've shown is that it is time to change the way we do trade. People said we couldn't do a global tariff. We did a global tariff. They said no one would want to deal with us. People want a deal. They said no one would give offers. You saw that stack of offers I showed you yesterday of all those countries. Said we wouldn't get deals, and here we are with a deal with the 6th largest economy. We've agreed to have fair and reciprocal trade, and we've done it in record time.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Great job.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ambassador. Well, Mr. President, thank you very much indeed in hosting us this morning. And thank you very much indeed also for that very typical 11th hour intervention by you with your phone call to the President, demanding even more out of this deal than any of us expected. So thank you for that. The Prime Minister was delighted, obviously, to take that call late at night. But you took it to another level. And I think the point I would make is twofold. One is that if we're going to rebalance and rebuild international trade in a way that serves all our interests, then we're better doing that together than separately and apart, and that's what we're on a mission to do. But secondly, you've done what you said you would do. You said to the Prime Minister when he came and we visited in the Oval that you would do a good trade deal with the United Kingdom, that you would do it at pace, and that we would be first. And you have delivered that. You've been true to your word. So thank you very much indeed for that. For us, it's not the end. It's it's the end just of the beginning. I mean, there is yet more we can do in reducing tariffs and trade barriers so as to open up our markets to each other even more than we're agreeing to do today. But it also provides us with the platform, the springboard, to do what I think will be even more valuable for both our countries in the future, and that's creating a technology partnership between the United States and the United Kingdom so that we can harness science and technology in order to create future industries and future jobs, and to do that together in the way we work so closely already in the national security and defense area. We can just take that to yet further areas of science, enterprise and endeavor. So we're looking forward to doing that in the coming months. You've launched us extremely well today. It just, in my view, as the Prime Minister has said, just shows what two countries who trust each other, who are confident in each other and are familiar with each other can do, not just for ourselves, but for the rest of the world who need to benefit from a bigger and better international trading system. Thank you very much. It was beautifully stated. What a beautiful accent, too. I'd like to have that accent. Thank you. My mother would be proud. Thank you very much. Any questions?
James Matheson, Sky News.
Yes.
Can I ask, why Britain and why now? And you describe this deal as a full and comprehensive deal, and yet we've just heard from Mr. Matheson it's the end of the beginning. Clearly, there's much more work still to do. With respect, are you overstating the reach and significance of this deal because you're a president who needs a result at a difficult time?
I think that it's a great deal for both parties. It's for us. We're opened up. I didn't know how closed it was. Quite closed, the market, as you know, the UK. And it opens up a tremendous market for us. And It works out very well, and a lot of assets. You see the chart, and those are tremendous assets. But we've been trying, and when you say why us, meaning your country, we've been trying for years, and they've been trying for years to make a deal, including when I was in the, first term. It would always be people talking, but they weren't getting it done. But for 25 years before that, they were trying always to make a deal, a very significant deal. I actually, until I looked at the numbers, I didn't realize this is a very conclusive deal, but we think we can grow it even from that. But this is a maxed out deal, not like you said it. You said it really incorrectly. This is a maxed out deal that we're going to make bigger, and we make it bigger through growth. But we have tremendous assets involved. I was surprised to see how big your country is in trade, actually. One of the biggest in technology and so many other things. It's agriculture. I really didn't know. It's, depending on your definition, it's from 4 to 5 to 6. That's pretty big in the world. So I was very impressed by that. But we're going to take it to new levels. It's a very big deal right now, but I think it is going to grow just of its own volition. It's going to grow, and over time there'll be changes made, there'll be adjustments made because we're flexible. We'll see things that we can do even better. But it's very conclusive, and we think everyone's going to be happy, and the people of your country are going to be very impressed with the result, and they'll be able to buy from more people. They'll be able to price things differently. They'll be able to get some products that aren't available to them now that we make better than anybody in the world. And it's just something that it's a great thing that it came together. It's so nice because we have many countries want to make a deal, and many countries are very unhappy that we happen to choose this one, to be honest with you. But it's a long time, our oldest ally, or just about. I guess a couple of people claim that too, but let's put it right at the top. I think it's going to be something very special for UK and special for the United States.
Thank you, Mr. President. Megan Reese with the Daily Caller. How close are you to more deals, and when do you expect the next to be announced?
Well, very close. We have numerous deals. I know Howard's going back. As soon as this is finished, your press conference, he's got numerous. And Scott, who's right over here, who's fantastic, by the way. You were great on television this morning. I watched you. That was very good. You gave them a little lesson in the world and economics. But Scott's going to be going to Switzerland, meeting with China. And, they very much want to make a deal. We can all play games. Who made the first call? Who didn't make it doesn't matter. It only matters what happens in that room. But I will tell you that China very much wants to make a deal. We'll see how that works out. Every country throughout the last 40, 50 years has literally ripped off the United States on trade, on military, on protection, on all the different things. And we are now making fair deals. And in this case, it's great because we really weren't very much involved. You have the European Union, which is, I think you made the right decision years ago. I don't know if you remember, I was opening up Turnberry the day that you were voting. And they asked me, would it happen or would it not happen? I said, no, I think they're going to go their own separate way. I think it's better for them. And they did. I think it's going to end up being a very smart decision. But a big part of that decision was always that you'd be able to make a deal with the United States. And they were unable to do that. But now they made it. And it's a tremendous, it's very important. That was always a big part of your decision on Brexit. And they were never able to make that deal. It was a tough one. And this one it's amazing with time. This one just went very smoothly, went quickly and smoothly. And a lot of common sense, as I like to say. It's tremendous common sense, but it's going to make your country much bigger in terms of trade. And it's going to make our country much bigger in terms of trade, too. Yes, it is. Okay. Go ahead, behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll get you.
BBC. Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned the...
You're with who?
The BBC.
Oh, good. Very nice. They treat me beautifully.
You mentioned beef exports. The UK currently doesn't accept American beef because of its own food standards. Are you calling on the UK to accept all American beef and chicken products?
Well, I think they'll take what they want. We have plenty of it. We have every type. We have every classification you can have. As you know, Bobby Kennedy is doing a tremendous job, and he's, I think, probably heading toward your system with no chemical, no this, no that. I mean, I think we're heading that way. It seems to be, and but we have that also. So we're a very big country. We have a lot of beef. We're a very big country, so it'll be great. Yes, yes.
You want me to jump?
Yes.
Let's talk about American beef really quickly, and it can't be understated. I'm Brooke Rollins, by the way, how important this deal is and what this means to American farmers and ranchers. Specific to the beef, this is going to exponentially increase our beef exports. And to be very clear, American beef is the safest, the best quality, and the crown jewel of American agriculture for the world. So I think a really important part of this deal isn't just the ethanol reducing of tariffs from 19 to 0, which for our row croppers is a huge deal, but also for beef. And as we move forward, I know our incredible trade team is looking at all of the meats, all of the produce, really all of our agriculture exports. And I don't know if there's an industry that has been treated more unfairly and has suffered more than our agriculture industry. So we look forward to, I'll be in the UK on Monday, talking to my counterpart over there for next week, and look forward to moving that out across the country. The president is
I think
incredible.
we can say that we have the best in the world, best tractors, the best everything in the world. And they say that our agriculture is, second to none, you understand. And it'll be a great asset. People are going to be able to have options, choice, and they'll have more of it. And that usually means lower prices. How about we'll do you and then you? Go ahead.
Question for the client TV, Daniel Compatangelo, LA7 to 2000 Prime Media. So congratulations for the deal. We see a big revenues from the chart. But what's the rest of Europe? It's a victory day, but other European countries seems like they're losing.
We intend to make a deal with Europe. We have found that the European Union treated us extremely unfairly, very difficult, and hurt themselves in doing so. And they very much want to make a deal. We'll be dealing with them. We are dealing with them currently. So that'll cover pretty much the rest of it. But this was separate because of Brexit in particular. This was a separate deal. It always seems so natural. I mean, all the media would say that this seemed to be like, why did this happen 25 years? Why didn't it happen a long time ago? And it was always amazing to me. Somebody would say, hey, we got to make a deal. We have to make a deal. But this deal just fell into place. The prime minister did a fantastic job. His representatives are total professionals and they got along well. And it just seemed to work. And I think one of the reasons it did is because we blew up the whole system. If we would have just been dealing with you separately or, country by country, we blew up the whole system. It was very fair to very unfair to the United States. And I think because of that, this worked out so nicely. And I'm honored that it was the first deal. Please.
Sir, you mentioned.
Well, why don't you go in the back, yes?
Oh, thanks, sir. I'm with the London Times. I'd say this is a great day for James Bond because now Aston Martins will be available to American buyers. Will it be even better by extending it to film? You've talked about a big tariff on films, and we'd like to know if there'd be relief on British.
Well, we're going to have a discussion on that separately. And as you know, we're putting tariffs on that particular film, he said, the movie makers. And we're going to be doing some tariffs to get them because a lot of them have left this country. They all live here. The money comes from here. Everything comes from here, but they make them in other countries. So we're going to do something to bring them back, maybe to a large extent. But James Bond has nothing to worry about that, I can tell you. James Bond. And Sean Connery was a friend of mine. Sean Connery was responsible for my getting zoning in Aberdeen. He said, let the bloody bloke build his golf courses. I was like 4 years into the process and it was impossible in Aberdeen. And he just stood up one day and he said that. As soon as he said that, I got the approvals in about 2 minutes. So he was a great guy, Sean Connery, and great character.
Later in the year.
Say it?
Are you going to Scotland?
Oh, yeah, I will be, sure. It's great. We have a lot of investment over there. We have Turnberry, Aberdeen. We have, as you know, in Doonbeg in Ireland, right on the ocean. They're all in the ocean. I only have interest if they're on the ocean. And we have good investments over there. It's been beautiful. Yes?
Mr. President, if the talks go well this weekend between Secretary Bessent and Ambassador Greer with their Chinese counterparts, not preemptively, but if the talks go well, would you then consider lowering the tariff rate on China?
Well, it could be. I mean, we're going to see right now. you can't get any higher. It's at 145, so we know it's coming down. I think we're going to have a very good relationship. You know, I always got along very well with President Xi. That relationship was greatly disturbed by COVID when COVID came in, but we get along very well now. I mean, the relationship was hurt with a lot of people, a lot of countries when COVID came in. But I think we're going to have a very good relationship. I expect to have a very good relationship with China, Scott. I think it's a very friendly meeting. They look forward to doing it in an elegant way. China, as you know, has a tremendous trade surplus with us, and we just can't have that. And but I think it's going to be very good for both countries. I would like to see China opened. You know, one of the big things here is, and nobody would know this, but the UK was largely closed. It was very much closed to trade, and now it's opened. And a lot of the financial reporters are very happy about that because so much. I listened to them. Well, I hope they get countries opened up, and then you compete on a fair basis. But you can't compete when you're not allowed to go there. China would be the #1 example of that. You know, it's very close. We almost had it last time before COVID. And that didn't work out. But we made a great deal with China. They had to buy $50 billion worth of our food products. And it was a great deal, doing very well for our farmers. And then when Biden came in, as usual, nothing happened. You know, he didn't enforce it. And it got less. And ultimately, you know, destroyed a great deal. That was a great deal. But no, I think that we're going to have a good weekend with China. I think they have a lot to gain. I do think they have far more to gain than we do in a sense, but we're going to have I think we're going to have a very good weekend.
Will you speak to Xi after the weekend talks?
I might, yeah, sure, depending on what Scott says. We Scott is doing certain countries and Howard's doing certain countries. I mean, I wish I had like 10 more of each, then we could do them all at one time. But there will be a time, we'll do a number of them, and then there'll be a time, I think I can say this, Scott and Howard, where we're just going to say, because we understand the countries, we understand what they want, where we're just going to make the deal. In other words, we don't need the country involvement because we've already had it. And we'll say this particular country, which had big surpluses, let's say, we had therefore deficits, that this particular country is going to pay a 25% tariff or a 30% or a 50% or a 10%. Or whatever it may be. I think we should explain it now. One of the things we did here that we'll rarely do is on cars, we took it from 25 to 10 on Rolls-Royce because Rolls-Royce is not going to be built here. I wouldn't even ask them to do that. You know, it's a very special car, and it's a very limited number too. It's not, you know, one of the monster car companies that makes millions of cars. They make a very small number of cars that are super luxury, and that includes Bentley and Jaguar. So we have some very special cars. So in order to help that industry, and that's really, you know, handmade stuff. They've been doing it for a long time in the same location. And I said, yeah, that would be good. Let's help them out with that one. But that's different than a car company that comes out and makes millions of cars, which they'll be doing in our country. They're going to build, we have many factories, car plants being built or going to be built very soon. I think we can say that we'll be close to $10 trillion of investment. I think we're actually at that number now if you add up some of the ones we haven't heard about yet. I mean, we have some going up right now. They have plants going up and they haven't even spoken to us. They're doing it because of the tariffs. And tariffs have always been used against us. And I never understood. I used to sit back. As you know, China paid hundreds of billions of dollars in tariff when I was president. But until then, China never paid anything. And, you know, they really did a big number on us from the standpoint of trade. But we are using tariffs now for our benefit. And we have now close to $10 trillion. Think of that, 10 trillion. If you look at the past administration, and we're talking about over, you know, essentially 2 months, because we could say 3, but it took a little while to get the office in perfect shape, right? It took a little while to get things done. But once we started, when you think of that, close to $10 trillion of investment, you've had years where the United States wouldn't do that wouldn't do 1 trillion in a year, wouldn't do anywhere near 1 trillion. We did 10 trillion in 2 months. So it's amazing what's happening. We're getting calls from, and that has to do with chips. has to do with cars. We used to make chips. We had Intel, and we used to make chips. We had a monopoly on chips. Everything was made here. And now, over a period of years, because of presidents that didn't know what they were doing, they allowed that business to be stolen from us. Most of it moved to Taiwan. And you probably were in the same position, right? Because you had a lot of the chip-making capacity, but they moved it in. And if we would have said, that's fine, if you want to move it to Taiwan, that's good. But if you want to sell back into the United States, we're going to put a 50% or 100% tariff on, they would have never left. But we had people sitting here that didn't understand that, and it's too bad. But now they're coming back because I'm saying it about 40 years too late. But they're coming back. As you know, we have the biggest chip makers in the world spending, in one case, 300 billion, in one case, 500 billion, same as Apple, and in another case, 200 billion. And we're going to have a large share, a very, very substantial share of the chip making market.
You said that this weekend is going to be a friendly visit, but do you expect that it will just be a formality to break the ice, or are they going to get into substantive negotiations?
I believe so, yes. I believe it's substantive, yes. I think people like to say, yes, we're having a meeting to meet. Well, we're meeting, so what are we going to do? Talk about meeting again? I think it's going to be substantive. I think we can say that, right, Scott? Very substantive. Now, China wants to do something. And look, they have to at this point. You know, essentially, they made $1 trillion a year, and now they have absolutely, no business because of the tariffs. They have no business, and they want to have business. And we want them to have business. We want them to do well. We want them to do very well. So I think it's going to be very substantive.
Because business has slowed down, as you mentioned.
In China.
But we're seeing, as a result, the ports here in the U.S., the traffic has really slowed, and now thousands of dock workers and truck drivers are worried about their jobs.
Yeah, no, that means we lose less money, When I see that means we lose less money. Look, China was making over $1 trillion, 1.1 trillion, in my opinion. Different numbers from 500 billion to $1 trillion. I think it was 1.1 trillion. And frankly, if we didn't do business, we would have been better off. Okay, you understand that. So when you say it slowed down, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. But we're going to make it so they can, I'd like to say they can do better, actually, in terms of the bottom line. We'd like to see China opened up so we can compete in China and, give people something that they've never had, access to something. That'd be great for the world. It would be great for our businesses. And I think it would be great for friendship. I really expect, a lot of people think I'm a militant guy. I'm really not. I think that trade can bring a greater friendship with China. It can be something good. But, one of the things that I know Scott's going to be talking about very high on the list is open up and let our businesses go into China. Because when you talk about a closed country, that's a really closed country. And I think it would be great if it was opened up, give people a lot of choice, and would create a lot of jobs, a lot of everything. So I think it would be a great thing for China. That's going to be one of the things we'll be discussing, like we discussed with UK. Yeah, please.
So what does Britain have to do for you to drop the baseline 10% tariff?
Well, I think that's set because that has to do with a lot of different things, including past. There are a lot of past things that we talk. This is very inclusive. We included everything, and that's pretty well said. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. President, the 10% baseline tariff remaining in place, is that a template for these future trade deals?
No.
You're going to keep it here?
No.
Is it going to stay in every case?
No, that's a low number. They made a good deal. Some will be much higher because they have massive trade surpluses, and in many cases they didn't treat us right. One thing with UK, they had somewhat closed, not like a China as an example, but they always treated us with great respect.
So
they treated us with great respect. The template of 10 is probably the lowest end, and therefore they made that deal. But they we've had just a very special relationship with them. Like, I won't do that deal with cars. I mean, unless somebody shows me that there's another kind of a car that's comparable to a Rolls Royce, and there aren't too many. This is a good commercial for Rolls Royce. I'm going to order a lot of cars.
Mr. President, I wonder whether you'd like to buy.
I mean, Well, the last time this happened,
I would be happy to suggest a discount, obviously a very modest discount. We have to protect our profit margins.
I've had many of them, actually. You know, the last time that happened, I ended up buying a Tesla, you know.
James, you're Mary Margaret Oldham with Daily Wire. I had a question about the UK deal today. I heard there was talk that part of the agreement would depend on whether the UK would respect free speech and freedom of religion. I know the VP is really interested in that, talked about that earlier this year. Was there any assurances that you guys got on that front?
You want to handle that?
Yeah, that was not part of the conversation. Our conversation was an economic conversation from start to finish, closed by the president yesterday. This was a business deal, open their markets and also protect their workers, grow our markets and help our workers.
This was about business religion. You know, business is sort of a semi-religion, but not nearly as important. I don't want to get myself into Go ahead, please, in the back there.
Mr. President, will you be asking China to help you close, the gap between Ukraine and Russia?
I think so, yeah. I think it's a natural thing to ask.
What do you expect?
Sure. I don't know. I think we're making good progress. The fighting is a little bit different than it was. I think if we weren't involved, Russia would be, going at it to maybe get the whole thing. Without our involvement, they'd be able to get it. Because we supplied a lot of different things, foolishly. But we've been sort of paid back by doing the rare earth deal that I talked about before. I think that, I think that we will be very much involved in trying to get that bloodbath. It's a bloodbath. It's a horrible situation. 5,000, it's really more than that. But it's 5,000 soldiers on average a week, mostly soldiers, are being killed. Young, beautiful people. I mean, they're being killed. I see the satellite pictures coming back, body parts lying all over fields, heads and arms. It's so terrible. I've never seen anything like it, actually. And if we can get that stopped, that will be a great accomplishment. And we're trying very hard. And I think we're close. And Mr. Witkoff is talking constantly back and forth. He's a real professional who's got a great relationship with both countries. And I think we have a good chance. And likewise, we're trying to work on Iran to get that solved without having to get into any bombing, as we say, big bombing. I don't want to do that. I want them to work a deal. I want them to be very successful.
Business. Yes. On the non-market barriers, how did you get the UK to bend, and what was the 11th hour deal or ask?
Well, I think it was really just a part of the overall. I mean, they have so many things that are so good for them. It's going to be so good for the country, and that was sort of easy. It wasn't. We had non-market. I call it non-market or non-monetary trade barriers, and we had quite a few of them. Not nearly as bad as some countries. Some countries have. They have virtually no tariff, but the rest of it is so brutal you can't do business with them, right? So it's a very important question, actually. No, I think the overall deal just worked out very well from their standpoint. They were willing to give that in order to get other things, and you might want to speak to that, Mr. Ambassador.
Look, the point about the deal is that we will continue reducing tariffs and non-tariff barriers. This is a continuing picture. It's a movie. It's not a still picture here. It's a movie. Yeah. It continues. And we're both committed to freeing up trade between our countries. We're both committed to freeing up investment between our countries. And the point about this deal is that it provides a very good template and a very good launch pad for what we can continue to do and build on in the future. And that's what we're both determined to do.
Many of the, well, we'll keep it confidential. How about just one more little thing, right? It got the deal closed, and it was handled very well from the other side too. But many of these things that we're talking about, we've been talking about this for 25 years. It's hard to explain when, if you weren't sitting behind this beautiful Resolute desk, you just wouldn't get it. I have been hearing about making a deal with UK for 25 years. And especially around the time of Brexit. They wanted to make a deal, so they came out of Brexit and they make a deal, and how natural. And it just Couldn't be done. It couldn't be done. Good people. And this is a bigger deal. This is a much bigger, better, stronger deal for both of us than we ever even contemplated before. It's a big deal.
Virtually everyone said that it would end in failure, it would end in tears, and it's ended in exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
But, Mr. President, can I say that that is due to Secretary Lutnick and Ambassador Greer, who've been absolutely fantastic. But
Right.
yesterday I received a call, a very diplomatic call that just edged things over the line, and that was from your new ambassador in the United Kingdom.
Who is terrific. Man.
Warren Stevens, he's here.
Where is Warren?
Right here.
Hello, Warren.
He's flying to London tomorrow night. He's going to be very popular with the British people. He's going to be a very successful ambassador.
Mr.
And he's got plenty of cash. Plenty of cash. You're going to go ahead fast.
Yes, are you planning to meet Ursula von der Leyen, the president, or the European Council anytime soon?
Oh, she's so fantastic, right? She's so fantastic. I hope we're going to meet. Yeah, the answer is yes. I saw her a few days ago. And I think that we'll definitely meet, yeah. The European Union is a big thing. They want to make a deal very badly. You know, everybody wants to make a deal. Look, everybody wants to make a deal with the United States, and we're doing that, and we're going to make fair deals. I'm just honored that this was the first one. Go ahead, please.
The Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. President, says that you would have to call him for a meeting. Do you plan to meet with him?
I could call him for a meeting, but it's like talking to a wall. He should be.
The Bank of England cut.
Well, the Bank of England cut, China cut, everybody's cutting but him. It's you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's a shame. I call him Too Late, you know, Too Late Powell, that's his nickname, and it's a shame, it's ridiculous. So meeting, he's always too late. But in this case, it's not gonna matter that much because our country is so strong. We're so powerful in terms of economic strength and what we've done. And I'll tell you what, if we didn't have our first term, you wouldn't be. We created things in the first term. We cut more regulations than any president in history. We cut the taxes more than anybody in history. And a very big factor is going to be the tax bill that we have right now, the one big beautiful bill, as we call it, which is all encompassing, the biggest tax cuts ever in history, bigger than even the first time. And the incentives, even great for the UK, because it'll make us so strong that we're going to be doing more business with you. It's a very important element for taxes, for every aspect, regulation cuts. That bill is, I believe it's the biggest bill of its kind ever in the history of this country. And Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done an incredible job. I mean, I'll let you know, we have to get a vote, but we have a lot of support for that bill. And if that happens on top of all of these trade deals that we're doing, this country will hit a point that you better go out and buy stock now. Let me tell you, this country will be like a rocket ship that goes straight up. This is going to be numbers that nobody's ever seen before. That's a very important element of all of this. You know, if we get that, if you don't, and the Democrats are fighting it only because they want to fight. They have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, if it was somebody else, they wouldn't fight. If you had a normal person, if you had some stiff sitting behind you, they'd be fine. But they have Trump derangement syndrome. You know, Senator Schumer's become a Palestinian. Welcome. I don't know when they're going to give him the ceremony, whatever the ceremony may be. It's terrible what's happened to the Democrats. So very, very important element of everything, of what we're doing, unrelated to today, but related in the sense that we'll do, if that passes, we'll do even more business with the UK. We'll have so much. It's the biggest tax cut in history. It's going to make our country zoom. It's going to be incentive, as you know, with the deduction for, basically for work. You work, you build, you plant, etc. Deduction. It's going to be the biggest, it's the biggest bill of its kind ever passed, maybe the biggest bill ever passed. That's why we call it the one big, beautiful bill.
You just announced a new nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician. So can you explain why you picked her to
Well,
be
she's
America's top doctor?
because Bobby thought she was fantastic. She's she's a brilliant woman who went through Stanford, and as I understand it, she basically wanted to be an academic as opposed to a surgeon. I think she graduated first in her class at Stanford. And Bobby really thought she was great. I don't know her. I listened to the recommendation of Bobby. I met her yesterday and once before. She's a very outstanding person, a great academic, actually. So I think she'll be great.
Your nominee for U.S. Attorney of D.C. Do you have a backup plan if this Senate?
Oh, I do, yeah, but he's a terrific person, and he wasn't getting the support from people that I thought. You know, he's done a very good job. Crime is down 25% in D.C. During his period of time. I'm very disappointed in that, but I have so many different things that I'm doing now with the trade. You know, I'm one person. I can only lift that little phone so many times in a day. But we have somebody else that will be great. I just want to say Ed is unbelievable, and hopefully we can bring him into, whether it's DOJ or whatever, in some capacity, because really outstanding. To me, it was disappointing, I'll be honest. I have to be straight. I was disappointed. A lot of people were disappointed. But that's the way it works sometimes, you know, that's the way it works. And he wasn't rejected, but we felt it would be hard. And we have somebody else that we'll be announcing over the next 2 days who's going to be great.
With companies like Ford and Intel recently saying they're going to raise prices on certain products, how long do you think the American public is going to be patient and waiting for you?
Well, I think they're saying that just to try and negotiate deals with me. They're not. Look, tariffs are the most misunderstood thing maybe in any form of business, anywhere in business. Oftentimes the country picks them up. Oftentimes the company picks it up. The people don't pick it up, okay? The people don't pick it up. And if Ford did that, they wouldn't sell any cars. And if Mattel, I don't know, I'm not so sure. They also said, they're the only country I've heard, they said, well, we're going to go counter. We're going to try going someplace else. That's okay. Let him go, and we'll put 100% tariff on his toys, and he won't sell one toy in the United States, and that's their biggest market. I heard that. I mean, I watched this guy talking about how I'm going to go counter. I said, well, I wouldn't want to have him as an executive too long. The Ford people I know very well, what they're doing is negotiating with us by saying that. But we don't think that's going to happen. Look, I put out a truth today, and it said that gas is down, gasoline is down, energy is down, groceries are down, eggs are down. I mean, eggs, thank you very much, but eggs are down. When I came in the first week, you guys hit me with eggs. I said, what the hell happened with eggs? Eggs were up like 170% and going up, and they said, don't order any for Easter. And we were thinking about ordering plastic eggs like everybody was doing. And Brooke did a fantastic job, agriculture. Brooke did a fantastic job. And we had hundreds of thousands of eggs out here on the lawn just 2 weeks ago at Easter. But you take a look at the cost. Energy's down. Even interest rates are down. Now, if the chairman of the Fed, Jerome, if he would lower interest rates like China did, like I think UK did, but like numerous other countries have done, it's like jet fuel, it'd be great. But he doesn't want to do it. I think he doesn't want to do it. Probably he's not in love with me. I think that's right. It's sort of a crazy reason, but that's the way life is. Anybody in his position would be like jet fuel. But even without that, we're doing well. But remember this, I've watched you people reporting over the last few months that if we do this, prices are going to go through. Well, groceries are down. All of this stuff is down. Lumber is down. Oil is gone to, we have that thing broke 60, right? $60 a barrel. And $1.98, $1.99 in some cases. And heading in that direction. No, I think it's been amazing, actually. And what that's good for, it gives the consumer more money, and it gives them a better life, because we just came out of the worst inflation, in my opinion, in the history of our country. They say 48 years. But Biden really screwed it up. He screwed up energy. And he also he spent too much money. He was spending it on, Green New Scam. And that's like throwing the money. See that beautiful window behind? Take money, throw it right out that window.
because it's the same thing. He just,
Mr. President,
he spent $10 trillion, he wasted it. Not only was it bad, it was a negative. It wasn't even like it helped a little bit. It was a real negative. And then on top of it, they let 21 million people into our country without any identification, anything, just let them in. It's very, very sad. Well, we'll do one or two more. Go ahead. Who are you with?
I'm with the Daily Telegraph. You know me from how concerned are you about the UK's reliance on China? Chinese money in the money market, Chinese exports.
We're not concerned.
Is that something that came up in discussions?
I'm not concerned about anything. If I was, I wouldn't even be here right now. If I was concerned about anything, and it wouldn't be that, but I wouldn't be here right now. No, we're not concerned. We're going to have, I believe, a very good relationship with China and a fair relationship, and it'll get bigger and it'll grow. It'll grow. As an example, if they open up the country, that'll be the best thing China ever did for itself. They don't know that yet because, it's been a different system. But that'll be the greatest thing that ever happened to China. The people will be happier. They'll buy for less. They'll see things that they never saw before, and they'll be buying them. And it'll really create great long-term peace.
And if I could ask one of the Agriculture Secretary, actually, there's a lot of concern about chlorinated chicken, the import of hormone-treated beef. Has that question been addressed, resolved in these talks, or is that something for the continuing negotiations?
Well,
James.
I would just say that it's very clear, and we have in the heads of terms that we are going to discuss all of these types of issues, and obviously the importing country, whether it's us or them, you got to follow the rules on those types of things. But our point is the rules need to make sure that they are based on science, and that's our expectation. We know the UK believes that too, so we want to come to an accommodation. We want the consumers in each country to be able to choose what they want and give them the information that they want.
We have an incredible EPA led by Administrator Zeldin that is on this. So the talks continue, but we are very, very confident in our products, and what the president has done to open up the markets is unprecedented for these farmers here in America. Thank you.
Wall Street, as they watched this, you saw the stock market decline sharply after Liberation Day, and it's rallied back since then.
Well, now it's going to really rally because, don't forget, they said this is all a pipe dream. And this is a tough one. Somebody would say, well, this is easy. This is much tougher, I think, than any other deal because they've been at it for so many years, decades, trying to make this deal. And it's very conclusive, and it's a great deal, and it's a very big deal, actually. And no, this is just the beginning. We're going to be having conferences, or at some point we won't have, we'll just put out a statement that we just signed this country, that country. And after a number of these are done, nobody has enough people to do it. We're just going to put out X country is going to pay this, and if they open up, they're going to do this and that, and they're going to be open up. Everybody wants to be here. I say this is where they want to be shopping. They want to shop in this country because we have the consumer, and we have the consumer like nobody else. And if this country went bad, the whole world would go bad. But we really saved it from going bad. Yeah, please.
Can I ask you about the air traffic control issue? Are you looking at getting new software?
I'm glad you asked me about it because I'm just going to be talking to now with the heads of the airlines and everything else. So I was all set before we had the rigged election to give out a brand new gorgeous system to one company that was going to do the whole thing, one of the best companies in the world that you know very well. There are 3 or 4 of them that do it. And when they took over, Buttigieg, who has no clue, he drives to work on his bicycle with his, in all fairness, with his husband on the back, which is a nice, loving relationship. But he didn't have a clue. This guy didn't have a clue. And he's actually a contender for president. Between him and Crockett, you can have that party. But he didn't know what he was doing. And he took what they call dry systems where you have wires in the earth, buried in the earth or whatever. And then you have the open air systems where you have satellites, and you can't mesh them. Anybody would know that if you went through about 2 months of study in school, if you studied that kind of thing. And he did. They spent tens of billions of dollars trying to take old, broken equipment and merging it into existing new equipment with brand new equipment. It's one of the greatest. They spent like $40 billion. And what they did is they made it worse. because it doesn't work together. You can't make it work together. If you have a satellite system, you need satellite. If you don't, they had all these different technologies, some of them 50 years old, and they're trying to mesh them in. And they end up spending twice the money they should have. You could have bought a whole new system. So we have a very good guy who you all know, Sean Duffy, is head of transportation. And I've given him a 10-minute lesson in buying, and he's become really good. And we are now in the market to buy a gorgeous, brand new system. The helicopter that crashed into the plane at 400 feet, it shouldn't have been. What would have happened is all sorts of bells and sirens would have been going off 3 minutes before that accident happened, if you had the right equipment, but they didn't. And the new equipment is unbelievable what it does. You can have, you don't even, well, I was gonna say something, but you always, in my opinion, you always need pilots. I want pilots. But you wouldn't even have to have pilots. This system is so incredible what they can do. But we have a system that's obsolete. And what they did is the worst. They tried to combine the really old, broken stuff with the new stuff, and you can't combine it, and anybody should have known. So Biden, you think Biden figured this out? I don't think so, fellas. Do you think he has any clue? He doesn't know what the hell's happening. So here's the story. We're gonna be buying a brand new, it's going out to bid very soon, brand new state-of-the-art system that will cover the entire world. I'll give you an example. When my pilot, now I have military pilots, but prior to that, I have very good pilots, great pilots. They would land, and I won't tell you which country, but they would use the system of another country. They wouldn't even use the system of the United States. So if I'm landing in New York or Florida or Tennessee, they're using a system from another country. I said, why is that? And they were, they're not into business, but they're just saying, our system doesn't work, sir. And I said, boy, that's pretty sad. But we were all set to give it out to, look, you have a Raytheon and you have different companies like that, numerous companies. And you have companies that would do it, like an IBM, as an example. And you give out one deal, one contract. They gave out hundreds of contractors. They had diggers. They had non-diggers. They had people that focused on satellites. They had hundreds of different contracts. One contract where one guy is controlling everything. You need a trench, then they dig a trench. But if you don't dig the trench, they don't blame you. What happens is you don't dig it, then they say, we want a cost overrun. Now, we have it all set, and we're going to be doing it. We would have done it, except that the election took a little strange turn. But the second one didn't. That was too big to rig. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
好，终于结束了，哇！这一顿白货，我去，比特币直接给吹到11万去了，哎，没到11万啊，刚刚比特币涨到最高是10万1500，我去，10万1500啊，哎，咱们把这个画面呢给大家切一下啊，画面切一下，咱们看这个 ，OK。好，发生了什么？为什么上涨？我也不知道啊，兄弟们，我也很懵逼。我不知道有多少朋友，咱们昨天在咱们直播这个鲍威尔讲话的那个直播间了。从昨天鲍威尔的讲话，6月份都有可能不降息，对吧？然后所有的事情呢都是乐观不起来的。但是川普今天这么一顿白货呢，就把比特币给吹到10万以上去了啊。那么现在的情况呢，确实是有点懵逼啊，我真的是不知道发生了什么。说实在话，咱们实话实说。但是咱们看一下这个目前啊，那比特币从今天早上我做视频的时候大概是进场了1000多万吧，现在所以说从早上7点到现在不到2个小时的时间，2亿资金进场啊，2亿资金进到比特币里面来了。然后以太坊进来了1个亿，然后我们看 Solana 进来了1个亿，狗狗币进的不多，好吧，然后咱们来看一下这个清算的这个热度啊，可能有很大程度的一个变化啊，好，那我看看我电报上谁给我发消息啊 ？OK， 好，那我们看到这个什么？ 比特币啊，这一波上涨几乎把上方的空单呢全部都打光光了啊。那下方啊比较明显的就是93000了。那咱们看它的话，还是要看这个时间跨度比较久一点的，看6个月的吧，看6个月的啊。啊，不是我进场了1000多万，我操，我哪有那么多钱？好，那我们看到上方啊，上方在10万零，刚刚打到了10万零1500，对吧？这上面的空单全部都没有了啊，它这个还没有完全更新出来，上面的空单全给打掉了啊。那么我们看的话，其实上方的空单还是蛮厉害的。最近，这个虽然市场是这样子涨啊，那我们给大家看看这个多空比啊，我给大家看一下多空比啊，这个重新再开一个网页，多空比是非常非常的离谱的啊。我们看一下啊，忘记多空比在哪里了。先看资金费率吧，资金费率现在应该是全部都是正的了啊。那现在做空的就没有赚头了啊，做空的就是赚不到钱了啊，资金费率全部都是正的了啊。正的话，现在做空的话就是要补贴给做多的了。那现在的市场要偏向于做多了，对吧？多空比啊，给忘了在哪儿看了，应该在这儿。搜一下吧。合约多空比好像还也不对啊，这个我忘记在哪看了，好久没有通过这个网站来看了啊，应该是在数据里面。空仓报告。哦，在这儿。哎呀，终于让我找着了。哦，不好意思啊。那么，哎，这不还是这个吗？大户的多空比。市场多空比。好，我们看一下这个交易所的多空比啊，看一下这个24小时的。哎，手机上为什么看到的跟电脑上看到的完全不一样呢？哦，这个多空比还是这个1以上了，达到1以上了啊。那这个是大户的啊，这个是人数的话是0.54啊，这个呢是比较恐怖的啊。就是现在多空比做空的人啊，远远大于做多的人啊，几乎是两倍多了啊，2倍了，快2倍了，对吧？那么从这上面来看，做空的人啊，特别特别的多。那我们看，哎，刚刚这个清算热图的话啊，刚才它刷不出来了。清算热图刚刚其实是已经达到了10万零1000了，对吧？10万零1500，那么上方几乎就没有什么空单了，就这一波呢就给清算干净了啊。那咱们来看一下这个刚刚爆仓的这个数据吧，我觉得这个数据应该是很让人这个什么的啊。那1个小时爆仓1.86，主要是爆的空单，对吧？那4个小时呢？爆仓2.391啊，主要还是爆的空单。那么12个小时啊，3.68亿，其中3.26亿是空单，对吧？然后24个小时5.83亿，主要是爆的4.88亿的空单。那这一波这个空单做空呢，真的是超级惨啊。好，那我们看到这儿之后呢，我们再看一下什么？未平仓合约，咱们今天早上做视频的时候是698亿，那我们看到现在，685亿啊，打下来了，这个数据被打下来了。然后咱们再看一下，这个怎么卡了？ OK， 好，那我经常看的这几个K 线的指标上面，哎，这个怎么最小化不了了？好，那这儿有一个 Coinbase 的一个现货溢价啊。那之前上一次咱们做视频的时候，在这个位置啊，它往下走了，变红了。今天来看，它依然没有超过前面的这个高点啊。所以说我现在来看呢，还是这个观点啊。我看空，但是我不做空啊，我是观望的一个态度。前面做视频，咱们也给大家分享了我的微策略呢，也是在390多的时候啊，不到400附近的时候，全部卖光了。我现在一个美股都没有了。那390，就算我是卖的是400的话，那我每股少赚了17块钱，哇塞，心痛啊，兄弟们！就是怎么讲呢？虽然我是持续的看好比特币，持续的看好微策略，但是还是踏空了，不应该卖完，应该留一部分才对啊。所以接下来啊，这个事情呢，我觉得也是有意思了啊。那接下来这个比特币，那我现在是持有了很多的现金，包括美股里面都是现金啊。然后比特币给不给机会，我完全不知道啊。现在这个今天我再研究到底发生了什么事情。从刚刚给大家分享到的这个看呢，主要的还是这个期货主导的一个市场啊，现货的交易量啊。那我们看一下现货交易量啊。为什么要看这个呢？这个是全网的啊，那不是某一个交易所的。这个大概能告诉你是一个全网的一个成交量。那过去24小时成交量呢是588亿。那588亿其实呢也不能算是比较高的一个成交量吧，这个成交量应该算是中等水平。那我们来看总的成交量啊，过去24小时是1300多亿啊，这个也是一个中等偏上一点吧。那因为这个以太坊现在今天火起来了，涨到2046了，对吧？那所以说从山寨币这个成交量比较旺盛啊，这个交易的意愿比较强烈。我相信很多人肯定会说山寨币来了，但是这个地方呢，我不知道啊，我不知道。好，那咱们来看一下这个评论区，大家有什么问题啊？如果说没有什么问题的话，咱们今天直播也就先到这儿啊。因为这个直播的时间也挺长了，对吧？10万零2000才报的差不多，10万零2000，有可能往上插这样，刚刚最高插到了10万零1525。好，榨干了。正费率是做多的给做空的正费。哦，对，我说错了啊。那对。费率是正的时候，你做多是赚钱的，对吧？赚这个费率。CC 说这一轮大饼能上20到50万。交易所老板嘛，那肯定他盼着这个行情来，对吧？屁股决定脑袋，这个咱们要理解它。正费率，对，我刚刚说错了 ，sorry。为啥 CoinGlass 显示以太流入2亿和你说的不一样 ？CoinGlass 显示流入2亿。我看的这个呢，以太现在流入3.28亿啊，它的是少，对吧？它少的话，它可能是少统计了。它 CoinGlass 它我不知道它的算法是什么样子啊，好像它也有一个看这个资金净流出，但我忘了在哪里看了，因为它的这个可能就是统计方法不一样吧，好。空军真是燃料，如果牛市来了，微策略350卖的你更惨，我操！我是分批次卖的，我最高卖到397还是398，然后400挂的400成交了一部分，然后啊，真是惨，没办法啊，这个就真的是没办法。那你买以太不是说好12万一起开香槟吗？怎么你先跑了？我没跑，我比特币没卖，我卖的是微策略的股票。1994空的以太坊还能回去吧？这个我不敢讲啊。主播求说做空的要不要平？做空的要不要平？我天哪！我现在说这个都可能就完全没有，我今天是懵逼的状态啊！真实话实说啊，咱们实话实说。我跟大家现在的状态是一样子的，我完全没有看明白今天为什么会长成这个样子。所以你问我今天的状态就是 很懵，然后呢，我给到的建议呢，也就是没有逻辑的。我真不知道啊，我真不知道。你是一个女生，我也没办法。空单要不要变，我真不知道。说实在话，今天我彻底给干懵了。但是我还是挺开心的，说实在话，因为我仓位最大的还是比特币以及狗狗币，对吧？以太坊我空进去了，祝你好运。现在可以做空吗？入圈7年了，没摸过一次合约。我觉得不碰合约是这个能节省很多的时间和精力。如果说你有合约在手里面的话，真的是，坐卧难安啊。这个状态我自己是体会到的啊。做空亏了70万，我去！你说的70万是什么单位？是美元吧？昨天力哥让做空啊，我昨天做空的爱达币啊，兄弟们，我加仓了爱达币。再继续我来被加爆14万8爆仓，安全吗？14万8短时间内安全啊，短时间内安全。这个短时间内应该就是1个月之内吧，我觉得。这个趋势，等一下啊。这个趋势还敢做空，真是富贵险中求啊！兄弟们，我不敢，我也不敢做空。说实在话，现在看不明白了啊。咱们实话实讲啊，这个没有人是神啊，我也不知道。昨天咱们看鲍威尔讲话的时候，你怎么能想到今天能上10万呢？完全想不到。所以就是如果说延续昨天的逻辑的话，那今天不应该是这样子的。但是呢，我们要理解，要敬畏这个市场啊。这个市场呢，就是它不是按照你的逻辑走，不是按照你的意愿去走，那这才是这个市场的吸引人的一个地方啊。就是你所有的逻辑都指向了，然后呢，最近呢涨不上去了啊，有可能会回调了，但是它就是来给你来一次这个暴涨。然后呢，让你的分析的全部落空，那这就是这个市场呢它有魅力的一个地方吧。所以说我们不应该说，这个突然暴涨了，然后有什么负面的这种情绪出来，我们应该理解这个市场，试着去接受这个状态。就是为什么会这样子呢？其实真的需要一个理由嘛？我觉得好像是真找不出来一个理由啊。就是这个市场呢，你给他讲逻辑的时候，他给你讲情绪；你给他讲情绪的时候，他给你讲这个大资金，对吧？你给他讲这个大资金的时候，他给你来这个技术分析了。反正呢，就是无论如何啊，我们总是不会100%全部押对。那这就是这个市场啊，金融市场就是这个样子啊。我们看到很多成功人的故事，说成功押对了什么什么，比如说这个梁希啊，咱们这个圈里面这个梁希，他前面做空然后暴赚了几千万，是吧？现在不也是又亏光了嘛？所以这个圈子里面呢，落袋为安才是最聪明的一个策略，就赚了钱呢，赶紧跑啊，不要贪心。我说一下我前面啊，我有一个会员啊，这个终身会员的也是一个女生啊。她前面在9万3还是9万4的时候，她想要再卖一点比特币。我说，因为她之前卖了1/3了，她在9万7千多的时候啊，就上一波涨到最高点涨不动的时候，然后卖了1/3，然后她说想要在低点的时候再接回来，然后在前面9万4的时候，跌到9万4的时候，他又说又想要再卖一半。我说不要贪心，不要贪心。为什么呢？因为我们不知道它后面是不是按照我们的预判的去下跌，对吧？万一上涨了呢？所以第二天他又过来感谢我，他说涨到9万7了，超过前面的这个卖的一个点位了。我说你看怎么就不要贪心，你就拿着就行了。比特币呢，是值得一直拿下去的啊。这个一直当然不是永远啊，不是说让你永远不要卖。我说的这个拿下去呢，就是我们要看到比特币50万到100万的这个区间啊，至少要到50万美元的时候才要考虑出货，而不是现在啊。现在这个我觉得比特币还是很便宜的，当前这个价位。 怎么讲呢？反正这个是咱们要理解，试着去理解、去包容啊，不是包容嘛，这个市场应该是，去敬畏这个市场吧。就是我们不知道这个主导这个市场的到底是什么东西。你不管是怎么看啊，你不可能100%去把控这个市场的节奏的，你永远做不到，没有人能够做得到。所以说，这才是我们要敬畏这个市场啊。好啊，那我们今天也不做过多的分析了，我觉得分析再多也没有意义啊。就是平时这个我们也看各种各样子的大 V 在分析啊，分析走势，找各种各样的理由，其实没有用啊，并然并卵，我们要试着去顺应这个趋势啊。当然了，这个我现在来看这个趋势啊，我们来看一下吧，从裸 K 上来看这个趋势，什么时候能够明朗？要加倍杠杆去做多整个的市场。当然了，我是只做多比特币的啊，就算我开合约比特币的话，也是只做多。那么我会选择突破前高啊，突破前高的位置，然后我给大家说一下我的逻辑啊。那我们先说一下，在这个地方有一个前高，对吧？这个是10.09万的位置。好，那如果说在这个地方突破了啊，好，假设啊，一口气突破了。我会在什么时候做多呢？我会在它回踩的时候，明白了吗？那我会在这个位置选择开杠杆去加多仓。当然了，回踩啊，这个不要跌破它，回踩要前面再往上涨，在这个区间的时候，我会选择做多，而不是在现在这个位置。在这个位置，我自己也没把握，好吧？这就是我的逻辑。这样的话，这是这个胜率会更高一点吧，也不能说我这个说的就100%就是正确的啊。当然了，这是我自己的一个逻辑，好吧？我会就是我如果加杠杆去做的比特币的话，那就是我要求这个胜率啊要更大一点。A 股放水反人性。对，我们刚刚再说一下刚刚这个川普的讲的吧，其实没讲什么事情啊。其实这个家伙呢也是，刚刚我在评论区看到有个人说的很对啊，他就是觉得昨天鲍威尔抢了他的风头嘛，然后今天呢就是开这么一个新闻发布会，其实就一句话就能总结他整个会的这个精神，就是跟英国达成了10%的这个互惠的这个协议啊，仅此而已。中间牵扯到了什么东西？就是我看整个的直播的过程当中呢，我心想啊，就是川普本来美国经济没有问题的啊，一点问题都没有。如果说有问题的话，那可能就是这个通货膨胀啊，通货膨胀。那现在呢，就是川普上台之后呢，强行的人为的制造了问题，然后呢再去把这个问题解决了，说你看我多牛逼，我把美国救出来了。然后前面他会忽略啊，他会把这个原因啊，谁导致的这个问题给忽略掉，然后告诉大家，你看拜登政府把经济搞成这样子，然后我把美国救了，我是英雄，那我是美国历史上最伟大的总统，最牛逼的总统啊，反正就是他身边的也都是一群小丑啊，就是在互相拍马屁吧。那刚刚在吃饭的时候，我一边吃饭一边用手机开着直播看。那我儿子问，哎，旁边这个有点秃头的这个男的是谁啊？我说川普的狗嘛，就是川普就喜欢舔他的这种人在身边啊。其实这么说一点毛病都没有，就是他就是喜欢好大喜功嘛，好大喜功的人都是这样子的啊。当然了，这种情况，完全是在走钢丝绳啊，一不小心，就是本来这个世界贸易走得好好的，对吧？全世界的跟美国做生意，然后呢，这个互通有无吧，就是或者是你叫互相利用，但是他人为的把这个东西给咔嚓给阻断了，那我们就可以理解成，比如说这个一条河，本来这条河流的很好的，它突然之间加了一个大坝，把这个水啊给堵住了，对吧？然后呢，这个堵住了之后，本来这个河呢是要往各个地方去流的，现在全部都缺水了。然后它堵住了之后，然后他再想办法把它在这个大坝上啊，他也不是把这整个大坝给重新打开，他只是 用这个炸弹呢，把这个一个一个炸开个一个一个口子，然后这个水慢慢的流出来了，然后其他地方又流水了，然后其他地方人说啊，感谢你，感谢这个总统先生，你看他又开始救命，你看我多牛逼啊，我帮了你们，我拯救了世界，我拯救了美国，啊，就是这样子吧。川普又发文了，让大家感觉去买股票。哦，你70万是台币啊，我以为是美金的。你要是70万美金就太狠了。70万台币，其实如果说啊，你没有在这个圈子里面2到3年以上的这种经验的话，还是不建议你去开合约啊。这种合约还是比较折磨人啊。不要听啊，很多永赚博主天天说啊，我开合约多少多少单，赚多少多少钱啊。这个你要想一想，这个钱到底是不是你的啊？如果说是你的话，你有能力去赚啊，那是你的。如果说你只是羡慕别人，脑子一热冲进去了，把所有的钱冲进去了，那这个钱不属于你啊。好，那看看大家还有什么疑问吗？我今天最开心的其实就是以太坊啊，以太坊还是涨得很好，但是啊，我们看到这个地方啊，2100点的这个高点啊，如果说冲不上去的话，也是白扯，也是白扯啊。从技术上来看啊，那我们看一下 Solana。Solana 比以太坊要好啊，Solana 这个高点其实冲破了。下一个 Solana 要冲的点呢就是180附近。我现在做空爱达的被套了啊，已经被套了，我是0.72726还是72几开的单，我忘记了啊，不去看它了。那我觉得这个还是再等等它吧，再等等它，我觉得还是能回到0.5附近去的。大家记住我虽然是说这个短时间之内，我现在有点迷茫啊，但是咱们大方向还是很准的啊。首先你要记住一点啊，美联储不放水，哪儿来的山寨牛？这个世界，打个比方说，还用这个河流来举例子啊，大河都没有水，你小河凭啥有水啊？对吧？Pepe，我觉得短时间之内还是别看了。如果说被套的话，Pepe 没什么技术面的啊，没什么好分析的。它的走势跟以太坊一样子的，一模一样子的，也是这个地方的高点。这个地方能突破的话，有一波行情；突破不了就拉倒了。这个地方啊，你记住啊，跟以太坊一样子的。咱们刚刚不是看了以太坊了吗？以太坊在2100突破不上去，还是白扯啊！突破上去了，才有下一波的行情。这是很明显的一个压力位啊。川普发推前，刚刚有一个消息被中国放水，对，昨天中国是又降息又降准吗？不是，昨天还是前天？也就是说，大方向看空，主流币也是了。对，短时间之内，我觉得这个行情，如果说真的是大牛市来了，这个行情要持续下去才叫大牛市，对吧？那我们要看到比特币，如果说持续走的话，突破，就像我刚才讲的，突破前面的新高，突破前面的这个高点，然后再回到前面的这个高点，再往上，这才是真正的大牛市啊！就是12万到13万的时候， 但是这个钱怎么去支撑得住它？你要源源不断有钱来去推动这个市场，才会有咱不说久吧，就说3个月以上的大行情，我们需要更多的资金来推动它。但是现在有没有啊？有没有这个钱来去推动它？如果说没有的话，那就拉倒了，对吧？WBTC 上的 Solana 链是什么意思啊？乱七八糟，我也看不懂你说的是什么。WBTC 本来就是在以太坊链上发的 BTC 啊，它本来也不是真正的比特币啊。然后它在那上面的 Solana 链我看不懂啊，我不知道是又是什么骗局吧，自己还是擦亮眼睛啊。好，那我们今天的直播要不就先到这儿吧。那感谢大家的陪伴。然后呢，你没订阅的话，订阅一波啊，给咱们这个直播呢也点赞啊。感谢大家的陪伴。如果说大家有什么问题的话，可以去加这个评论区啊，这个描述区的那个电报群啊，电报群里面这个只要你不发广告，我都会让你进来的啊。然后比特币上涨却没有量，却一直涨，无量上涨，对吧？那这就是问题所在了啊。所以这个时候呢，你应该是啊10万以上。大家还记得我前面跟大家做的一期视频吗？10万以上干什么来着？一定要干什么？跟大家看啊。10万以上啊，一定要减仓，要卖掉山寨币啊，兄弟们，咱们在2周之前就预判到了比特币会到10万了，对吧？所以看到没有？没看到这期视频的，去我的这个 YouTube 上面去看一看啊，最近的这几个礼拜的视频都很有意思啊，去看一看啊。10万以上一定要啊，这个要减仓啊，好吧？那行，那咱们今天这个直播呢，先到这儿了。那大家该睡觉睡觉啊，该干嘛干嘛去了啊。不要再熬夜了，熬夜对身体不好。那前面不是有一个人，宝二爷不都是尿毒症了吗？真的是他妈的，他好像就比我大1岁，85年的，妈的刚40岁尿毒症了。也是人生无常吧，人生无常，大肠包小肠。好，感谢大家的陪伴啊 ，Good night。美国的朋友 ，Good morning。